In this video, we're going to add a variable frequency drive fan to our Ventra Pro controller. To do so, you'll need an optional analog output board as an add-on to your standard Ventra Pro. We have some information on wiring it in another video. We'll go ahead and use this one that has that board installed and set up already as station number 2, and we'll go ahead and add that device. So with a variable frequency drive fan, we're talking about one that will take a 0 to 10 volt input. So we need a board that actually outputs 0 to 10 volts, and we're going to just click through all our possible devices, and we see VFD stir fan, VFD sidewall, VFD tunnel fan, VFD pit fan, VFD ridge fan, VFD hemisphere fan. So there's quite a few options in here. We'll just choose a tunnel fan for a traditional poultry type application. This will be our first one, and we'll set it as zone 1, module 2, because it has to be talking to that second board that's acting like an expansion station, that analog output board. And then we'll choose on there to use channel 2. So now it's set up. Now to get at that device, to see the settings for it, we don't have a hotkey obviously on our controller, so we can do control settings and to the right until we see press enter for devices, and then we can go from there to find our actual VFD tunnel fan. So we've got the choice of which sensors. If we're going to use all of them, the room average, we'll leave that at all. Otherwise, we could hit enter and specify individual temp sensors by their number. Operating mode, are we going to use this just in tunnel? Well, probably not. We might want to use it as a min vent, possibly. So we'll just go ahead and set it up as tunnel, cool, and purge. We're going to continuous settings on it with a temperature, on and off temperature. So we can set this up as a low temperature that would be below what the room would ever get to, and then allow it to run all the time at a low setting, and then ramp it up later. Or we can set it up as a temperature above the set point, the current set point, as an on temperature for the fan to come on, and it would be on anytime above that temperature, and then an off temperature that would give you the temperature at which it shuts off. So you could go either option. Fan on power setting. Now in this power setting, and we can have it do it while we're doing it or not. So as we're changing this, we can watch it spin and get an idea by changing this to a yes. And then this setting of 1 will go from 1 to 100. So we can have the fan on at a very low speed. You definitely could do a 1. In actual fact, it probably makes more sense to have it at least as a 5. But theoretically, VFD fans are going to be able to run by adjusting the frequency, the power going to it, and the fan will run with equal torque across the whole variable speed range. So we'll just set it at 5. We go down to power ramping. So it's going to be at minimum until what temperature? That's what this is. So all the temperatures from the on temperature until it gets to the ramping temp will be at the minimum. And then from that ramping point, this would begin ramping up from the 5 that we set to the full temperature. So in this case, we've got about a 6-degree span to full temperature, and that time it'll gradually go up in speed. And obviously, if it cools enough to bring things back down in temperature, it'll stay in there longer. But if the temperature continues to rise, like a day that's getting hotter, it will eventually go to full speed, which is what we want out of a variable. Our full power setting is typically always going to be 100, so that's just running the fan full speed. The run mode, temp only, would be typical unless you want to change that to include a min vent. So that's probably what we'd want to do here, because we'll set up this fan in min vent, and then we just have to come up with the right number of CFMs that this fan, or a number of fans, for the age of the birds. So we can do all that, but we'd have to set it to run in min vent. So this would be one of the fans set to run min vent, and we could control it that way. Time power setting, we can choose what speed we want to run that while it's in its, and we'll just go no this time, not to run it, but we'll just choose to have the min vent run at 45%. So we'll run it at 45% of full capacity, and then we have to use that based on the CFM that would be producing that fan, and getting the right air exchange for the amount of birds, and what our indicated number of CFM per bird is. So we've got that set. Still have the option to run this during entry and exit as it transitions in and out of tunnel mode. We can also decide to use it as proportional, which we'd probably want to do, because we'll want inlets, if they're not run on static pressure, it would be important that it's proportional so that the opening size is correct for that fan. And then we come around to the top again to our first item in our list of which sensors are we going to use. So that's the method for doing this. It takes a special fan that has a VFD drive built into it, a variable frequency drive, or a fan that has an external one. In either case, they have to be set up so that they're running off of a 0 to 10 volt output that the Ventra Pro is providing.